everyone, this is Crystal, and today I'm working in my 2017 Project Life album. This is week 24, which is June 12th through 18th. My 2017 Project Life album is set up a little differently than my 2018. So I'm not using the same page or pocket page every week, and I'm not limiting myself to a single page like I am in 2018. So this is slightly different. This is a much larger spread than I'm used to working in right now. So it'll be two full pages. It is 9 by 12. So these are Becky Higgins Design A pocket pages that I've just used my fuse tool on the edge and cut down to be 9 inches wide. And then a lot of them, like this is a 4 by 6. So a lot of them I have 3 by 4 photos or smaller photos in the 4 by 6 pockets because I just end up with a lot more 3 by 4 photos than 4 by 6 ones. But that's okay. I'm still using the same. This is the back of week 23, so I know that it's this pocket, which is why I'm not using a pocket with all 3 by 4s instead of the 4 by 6s. For supplies, I'm using the Studio Calico kits from June of 2017. So it's the kit that came out for this month. It's been and gone. I have the scrapbook kit and the planner kit. I don't have the documenter kit. So I don't have 3 by 4 cards, but I do have lots of papers that come with those 2 kits and lots of embellishments. So I've gone through those kits and picked out a few things to use. I have some papers and some scraps. I have used this kit before, so some of it's gone. So I have some scraps of smaller papers and cards. I have some embellishments and some die cuts and tear apart sheets and even a little post-it note from the planner kit. And then I also have the stamp sets that came with each of the kits. This one is by Hello Forever, and this one is by Life Love Paper. And then because I didn't have the documenter kit, and the alpha that came in the scrapbook kit was gray, which doesn't really go with the things that I've pulled out, I did grab some options from my stash. I think that I want to use this gorgeous paper with the copper foil as my title card. So I wanted to pull out some white alphas that would go nicely on top of this and be able to be read easily. And then I thought I might do the same thing on some of my photos and add some more white letters on top of them. So I have some options here, and I'm just gonna play around and see what I like best. So I guess it's time to put you on fast forward and get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut this 12 by 12 paper down to a 3 by 4. So my title card for this week is going to be just 3 by 4. So I'm just using a tiny little bit of this gorgeous paper. And at first I had some qualms about cutting into it just for a 3 by 4 card, but I know that I'll never use it in its full 12 by 12 size. Most of the 12 by 12 layouts I do are on white paper with just smaller bits of paper as mats or framing or whatever. So I'm never going to use this at 12 by 12. So it's ultimately fine that I cut into it. I'll still be able to use it for other projects. So I decided to use these white foam alphas. These are thickers. They're fairly old. I've had them in my stash for a long time, and you can see I have 2 sets. Because they're a really great size for Project Life, which is what I use them for mostly. So I have used my Thickers placement tool to line those up and get them down on my card, and then I'm just using a small label from the die cut pack to stamp my dates on. And that label does have a small sentiment on it. It says "We were here." So I'm just going to use my roller date stamp to put down the beginning and the end date of this week. And if you can see that, I totally messed it up. I tried to only ink part of the stamp, but I forgot to clean it off first, so it still had ink on it from the last time I stamped. So I just chose to use one of those copper foil asterisks. They're chipboard pieces from one of the kits, and I just put it in the center, and it kind of covers up the date a little bit, but it's okay with me. It works, and I like the extra bit of of shiny copper foil that it adds to that card. So now I'm moving on to my photos. This is a photo of my dog laying in the grass, and I am gonna stamp something on it. At first I thought I might stamp on one of those labels and add the label, since there is lots of blank space on this photo, but I decided just to go ahead and stamp right on the photo. So I grabbed my StazOn ink to make sure that it doesn't smear on the photo. I do print my photos at home. I have just a very inexpensive Canon printer, and I use Canon glossy photo paper in 4x6 size to print all of my photos for Project Life. So the StazOn really helps keep them from smudging. So I added another one of those chipboard pieces to that photo, and I thought I was done, but I decided to add just a few lines of journaling. So I'm going to use my very favorite gel pen to just write a couple lines on that photo, and I underline them to make them stand out a bit more, and then I'm going to call that one done. So I'm going to move on now to one of the other cards, and I'm sorry that the spread is largely out of view here. I had trouble making space for everything on my desk with two full layouts to work on at once, so I should have moved the one I'm working on down to the side so that you could see it better, and I will remember that for the future. But for now, it's going to be out of the frame until the very end. I bring it down and show it to you, and then there will be pictures at the end too, so you'll be able to see it eventually. So I apologize that it's outside of the frame for right now. So for this photo that's in the middle of my spread, I wanted to use this little scrap of paper, and I don't know why I insisted on using it. I don't actually end up liking the way that it looks, and I've actually considered going back and changing it, because I do have more of that paper that would be large enough to fit that pocket, but instead I decided to trim it down just to mat the photo, and then put both of them on a white card, just a plain white 3x4 card, and it just looks a little strange to me when it's all finished, but it's in my album and it's done, so as much as I would like to go back and change it, I probably won't. It'll probably just stay the way that it is. So so you can see I've matted the photo and added it to the white card, and now I'm just looking for something else to add. I do have just I think a couple words that I want to include, so I'm thinking maybe a label, then I think maybe one of these little tear apart sheets will work. I'm looking for a sentiment that matches the story, but most of these are just too big, or the sentiment just doesn't fit what I have to say. So ultimately I'm going to grab the sheet of arrows, they're little arrow stickers, and I grab a blue one and I use it to point to the subject of the photo, which is my cat's little nose, and you may have seen her a few minutes ago. She made an appearance here in this film, as she likes to. Her name is Scrunchy, and she was hiding on the shelf of our end table and sticking her little nose through the gap between the end table and the couch and trying to get my attention. So I snapped a picture and decided to add it to the album. So I didn't feel like that arrow stood out quite enough, so I grabbed one of the other sticker sheets from the kit. This is from the planner kit, and I used a 1-inch circle punch to punch out a little circle, and I've added that behind the arrow, and I'm just going to trim off the edge. And like I said before, this is not my favorite card. I don't actually end up liking the way it turns out very much, but that's what I chose to do, and I do like that I brought in that pattern. The sticker is the same pattern as the title card, as that paper that I used for the title card, so I like the fact that I brought that in again. I just maybe wouldn't have included both of them, both the arrow and the circle, but like I said, it's done, so I probably won't go back and fix it. So for this photo, it's a photo of a meal I made this week. I am going to repeat those same alpha letters, those same thickers, and I'm just going to put the word yum right in the center of the photo. And when I decided to use these for my title card, I was thinking that I would do this throughout the spread so that I would have several places where these thickers were kind of in the middle of the photo. So I'm going to do that again on this bottom photo, and I'm just going to put the word yes. This is a photo of a package that arrived at our house that was holding my brand new espresso machine. I was very excited to see it at the time. So I snapped a picture of it and have included it here. So because I don't want those three all stacked on top of each other, I'm just going to shuffle things around a little bit and find a place where they look balanced across the spread. And there you can see a little bit better that those three sets of thickers are a bit more balanced around the spread than they were to begin with. So then I decided to use these copper foiled labels to add a bit of journaling below each of those thicker words. So I'm doing the journaling right on the sticker sheet because I'm a little worried that my gel pen is going to run a little bit or bleed a little bit, and that it might take a minute to dry. So I'm just going to journal right on that sticker sheet and set it to the side while I work on something else, and then I will come back to that and add those two labels to the two photos with the thickers on them. So I've moved on to this bottom photo, which is of a book that I was reading during this week, and I've used a scrap from, it's actually from the title card from these kits. They come with this little 4x6 card that has the name of the kit on the back and the color palette for the kit, and on the other side it's just a sampling of some of the patterns that are in the kit. So I've decided to use this to back up this photo, and I cut it down to 3x4, and then I'm just going to add my photo to the top, and then I'm going to stick this label on the bottom and do just a couple lines of journaling about this book. I talk about how I was really hoping it would help me organize some things as we're downsizing at this point, but it really wasn't much help. It's a very popular book, but it just didn't resonate with me, so I just wrote about how it didn't really accomplish what I was hoping it would. So moving on to this photo in the bottom center, that is of our two dogs being very loving to each other, and it was a very sweet moment, so I snapped a photo of it, and I'm adding a label to the bottom, and I just wrote how much I love. So the card says happiness is, and I wrote seeing the way these two love on each other. It was very sweet, so I added that to the bottom of the photo, and I'm just going to add another little chipboard piece to kind of spread those around the layout, and I'm going to call that one done. So for this photo, I'm adding a small die cut circle that just says home in that same copper foil, and I'm just going to add a staple to that, and that's really all this one is going to get. It's just a photo of all of our animals laying all together in the living room, being very lazy. So that's what home looks like. That's what it looked like then, and that's what it looks like a lot now. So I think that is this side of the spread all done. So I'm gonna scoot it over and bring over the other half of the spread. And again, I apologize that it's halfway out of the frame, but like I said, you will be able to see it towards the end of the video. So here is where things go a little awry. So I wanted to repeat that same idea of having these white thickers on top of photos on this side of the spread. And this is a photo of a restaurant in Washington, D.C. that Jesse went to while he was traveling there this week. But instead of just putting a small word or abbreviating it, I decided to put the entire word Washington, D.C. On the photo and add it to the top, and I don't like the way that it looks at all. it just looks very crowded. I had to really kind of scrunch the letters together to get them to fit, and it's just way too much on this photo. And then I managed to somehow not get it straight even with that tool. But I don't want to have to reprint the photo, so for now I'm just going to leave it and see if I can live with it, and work on another card on this spread instead. So this is a photo of us on a walk, and I'm going to stamp again directly on the photo. The stamp says "Here with you," and then I'm also going to add another one of those arrow stickers that points to our dog, and then I'm just going to add a staple to that, and that's all that this photo is going to get. So because there's a lot more cards, I'm trying to keep a lot of them more simple than I would normally. So that's that one all done. So now I'm just going to take a look at my spread and try and figure out where I want to go from here. I'm not really sure what I want to do with all of the blank space that I have here. So I'm just going to play around, and then I'm going to decide to work on the bottom row and start to add some of the other papers that I have picked out for the spread. So I am going to grab that blue paper that's sitting right to the side with all of the words on it. It's kind of got a text or maybe a dictionary print, I think. Yeah, I think it's a dictionary print. So I'm going to grab my trimmer and cut this one down to a 3x4 size so that I can use it behind that photo I took of the show The Americans, which is what I was watching this week while Jesse was out of town. So I'm going to use that to mat this photo on, and then I'm thinking about what else I want to add here. I thought maybe one of these labels would work, but ultimately I'm going to grab those tear apart sheets. There was this little pack of tear apart sheets in the kit, and I'm going to look through those and find something from that pack that'll work on this photo. Oh, maybe I'm not going to do that quite yet. It looks like I'm just still thinking about what else to put around the spread and what to fill in those spaces with. So the other side of this blue dictionary print paper had just a really simple gray kind of arrow print, and so I decided to use that on one of the empty spaces, and so I trimmed that down, and I'm still just thinking about how I want this to go, and thinking about that card that I already did at the top that I'm really not liking. So here is where I start to go through those tear apart sheets and see if any of them will work on the cards I have on this side of the spread. So I'm just placing them where I think I might want to use them for now, and here is where I find there's a little square tear apart that says Epic, and that will end up staying on that card of the Americans. And then I'm also going to go through the die cuts from this pack and see if any of these will work, and there's a couple that I'd really like to use, including the little banner with the copper polka dots that I had pulled out for the other side of the spread and ended up not using. So I've just set it down where I think it might work, and just playing around with where I want to use it. And I'm going to set the rest of the die cuts aside because none of them really fit what I have going on here. So I was thinking about where else I could include those white thickers, and I decided that this blank card would be a good spot for it. So I used the die cut circle that came in the die cut pack. That's that same pattern as the title card. So now I've got it repeated in 4 places across the spread, and I decide to just put the word go, since the top part of this side of the spread is all focused on Jesse's travels this week. So just to repeat that same small word in white on top of the card, I added the word go here, and that's going to be it for this one. It's just basically just a filler card for this side of the spread. So now I'm still just thinking about what I want to do with the rest of this spread. I feel kind of stuck. That Washington DC at the top has really thrown me for a loop. So I'm just trying to figure out where else I can add some of these thickers and what else I can do to this spread to make it work for me. So I decided to add the word read to this photo in the bottom right corner, which is a picture of a book that I was reading for book club this week. So I'm going to add that there, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other side of the spread and add a label, one of the copper foil labels from the kit, and just write a couple lines about how this was the book I was reading this week and what book club it was for. Since we have more than one at the library, I thought I would mention which one this one was specifically for. And then I'm going to add that below the word read, and that's going to be it for this card. So next I decided to work on this card in the middle, and right now I'm thinking that this is where the bulk of my journaling for this week is going to go. But I'm thinking right now that I will type it up and cut it into strips. But I'm just trying to play around with what I might do at the top. So my plan is to do journaling strips at the bottom of the card and then have some kind of embellishment at the top. So right now I think that I'll probably use that bit from the tear apart sheet, but it doesn't end up staying there. It ends up being too big. I have too much journaling for it to fit. So I finally committed to using that tear apart that says Epic, and I'm going to add another one of the little chipboard asterisks and a staple, and that's going to be it for that one. So here is where you get to see the full spread finally, and here is where I realize that I need to get my journaling down so that I can finish this card. So I'm going to go away to my typewriter and, oh, nope. First, I'm going to add another one of these stickers to this card, which I think makes it even worse, but it is what it is. I decided not to reprint that photo as much as it bothers me. I'm just going to leave it and call it done, I guess. So I went away to my typewriter and I typed up my journaling for this week, and I am just using my trimmer to trim it down, and I don't make you watch this whole thing because it's rather tedious, but just to show you how I do it, I'll show you one or two little strips. So I just take my trimmer and trim above and below each of the little phrases. And what I didn't do was measure. So I kind of eyeballed when I was typing how wide I thought 3 inches would be, and I end up being a bit generous. So it actually hangs over the card just a little bit, and I end up having to trim them down a bit. Some of the letters are very close to the edge, but it's still readable, so I'm not going to retype it. It's fine. And some of them just go over the edge of the card, and some of them stay within it, and it's just fine with me that way. So to adhere these down, if you watched my previous video, you will know that my Martha Stewart glue pen has exploded on me. I'm not sure what happened, but it is trash. It's no good. It got a leak and started leaking glue everywhere. So I am using my fine line bottle, and it just has some Scotch tacky glue inside, and it will work just fine. It basically works the same way as a glue pen does. It's just a bottle instead of a pen. So I've glued everything down, and now I'm just trying to figure out what embellishments I want to add to the top of this card. So I know I want to use another one of those copper asterisks just to spread them around the layout a bit more, and I finally decided to use this polka dot banner with the copper foil polka dots on it, and then I'll just place the asterisk right on top of that and add a staple, and that's that card all done. And I think I have just one more little thing to glue down. There's that little banner on the top photo that says "In the City." I'm just going to glue that to that photo, and that is going to be it for this spread. So stay tuned. There are a few close-up photos so that you can see the spread in its entirety. And please do give this video a thumbs up if you were able to find some inspiration here. And if you want to be notified when I upload new videos, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys.